Doo-doo. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of The Card Show. Hope everyone had a good weekend after the Olympics started. Unfortunately for myself, my good friend Pat Brown was eliminated. So yeah, a bit of a somber mood. And then I wake up to read news about the Sports Card Social, which is basically the topic of today's podcast. Around card shows, sports card only shows. Sort of their future if they even have one. Let's discuss. So I'll start with obviously the post from Sports Card Social. So it starts with good morning, good evening, everyone. Writing to let you all know this evening to ask for your support. Currently, the Sports Card Social 3 is scheduled to go ahead in just over 7 weeks' time, which is September the 14th, 2024. Like the last two events, they have been a massive success, and we have enjoyed having you all at the shows and trade night. It really is a highlight of the UK card show calendar. However, the reality of the situation is, sadly, the show is under threat of not going ahead. There are several combining factors which we want to outline to you. So they're being very transparent. Obviously, they're going to outline their issues. Again, this was I think it was a 4 or 5 post on Instagram, sort of pictures with the things. So I'll go through them all now. But yeah, interesting to see this. I mean, this is the first. And obviously, I think Brighton as well was another show that sort of gave way at the turn of the year. So another show. Interesting to be a sports card only show. Yeah, so I've been in sort of direction a lot of shows recently, sort of splitting off, branching out from having Pokemon. But yeah, we'll get into sort of the outlying reasons for the struggles of Sports Card Social. So number one, sponsors. For whatever reason, the big companies, Tops, and he does a name and shame. So Tops, Whatnot, Futera, eBay, etc. Just want to sponsor the show. A lot of them basically see it as a waste of their money. We've had Tops, Bots, and Whatnots all pull out as sponsors since we've been running. So that's over 2 shows, because this is the third one. So the last 2 shows, then people have pulled out. This has impacted finances immensely because without them, it's simply too expensive to run. This in turn had a knock-on effect and impacted the prices of vendor tables. So again, that's very interesting. Number one being the sponsors, especially with the big names like Tops, Whatnot, Futera, eBay. Also, that Bots sort of left the country, so that's no surprise there. Not sponsoring shows over here no more. But yeah, interesting. Tops, obviously, especially being Milton Keynes based, and the show being in Milton Keynes, you would have thought it would have been a lot easier for them to sponsor that and send staff there and have a big presence there. Whatnot as well. Whatnot had a lot of presence in the UK shows recently. Obviously, they're being a lot more selective now. Futera doesn't surprise me too much. I don't really think I've seen that many shows as like a stalls or a stand. And they do a lot of stuff with London Card Show. But apart from just seeing them visit shows, I've never seen them have like a stand or a section. So it doesn't surprise me too much. eBay's a bit of a surprise, especially with them pushing all the enhancements they're doing to the sports cards with how you're listing them, with the grading that you can add on there now. Obviously, they've got the vault scenario. So that is a bit of a surprise. But yeah, interesting. Obviously, we don't know what goes on behind closed door. There may have been issues with representatives on both sides that they just more thought that this relationship was a bit too, fractious. I don't know, just wasn't good enough for them. Next up, so number 2, business costs. The Sports Card Social Ltd is a company, not a personal venture. It costs over £325 per month to run it at a basic level. Accountancy fees, software fees, Xero and Canva. Bank charges and fees on all transactions, throw on top 20% VAT of all sales. Since last show, we've had to pay out over £1,950 in running costs alone. The venue for the show costs over £4,000 to hire for the day also. The cost of 20 display cases for vendors to rent are £59.75 each. We have 20 at a total cost of £1,195. Although this is not your problem, it's a reality of running a business, as many as you will appreciate. Interesting. So now to outline the price of business, which is interesting for why the show, because I don't know if that's real. It's relevant because we need to know sort of the facts, but also again, you're running a business. This cost, it's not like I said, it's not our problem. I appreciate he's noted it, but whether that's number 2 worthy, I don't know. It's just the price of running the business. I'm sure if you spoke to other shows that are in a similar boat, I think probably ties in a lot more with number 1. If you've not got the money from sponsors, then that 1,195 in the last 3 months is what, £300 a month. That is what that is. Number 3, tables sold, and this is where it gets a bit interesting for me. We currently have sold 49 out of 100 available vendor tables. Whether the vendors are leaving it too late to book or just aren't interested in coming due to the number of shows around the UK, it is not sustainable number for the shows, sorry. We really need the shows to be fully booked. So it's a bit of a play, if you've not booked, if you're going to wait. I know people do wait because obviously it's the outlay of paying 60, 70, 80 pound per table, and it's not, you may have 3 or 4 shows before then, so you must pay for them tables, so all of a sudden you could be down £400 for tables for the next 4 or 5 months, and it's like, okay, and also you travel, etc. So that happens, but I think the interesting part as well there is 49. So that doesn't mean it's 49 vendors. It could be 25, 24 vendors sort of thing. If they've got 2 tables a piece. So is it a demand issue? Is there a case of demand? Is there a case of people just don't want to go to Milton Keynes? Is there a case of people don't like working with this company? Is there a case of there's just not that many sports cards vendors that want to go to so many shows? So again, back to the divide of splitting TCG and sports to separate shows. Does it really pay off? But yeah, interesting. I do think a lot of people will book. I mean, I'd be surprised if more people haven't bought these tables. I think another thing as well is I'll highlight as well while I'm on this subject of this as well. It's like there's not much promotion on this. If you go on their Instagram page, I think it's like 8 posts. Just on the third show, you've got 8 posts. I get you delete posts, but you've got to be active. You've got to keep that sort of the show in your mind, because other shows are posting, so they're relevant. So you see their posts, they're on your top, you're on your mind. Oh, do you know what? I'll go to that one. Like, you don't really see posts from Sports Social, Sports Card Social, so probably less in your mind. And again, the other shows are popping around, and you've got Cardiff now. Cardiff doing a sports card only show. They're posting about it. They're active, so they're social. So people probably go, oh yeah, I get a table, I buy tickets that instead of this. So you've got to take some accountability of the business of being sort of social. It's all good saying, oh, build it and it will come. That's not the case. You have to build things. You have to, do your market research. You have to put out advertisement, etc., etc., etc. So that's a bit of a interesting one. Table sold, because again, I do think people will buy more tables. I'll be surprised when this airs Monday evening if another 10, 15, 20 tables haven't sold, just because of a post. And again, people will share it. It'll be relevant. Again, people go, oh yeah, I didn't notice it so soon, and it'll click back in the mind. I'll get a table too for that, and I'll book a ticket and go to that one because it's my local show. And again, I know people do like sports cards only shows, so people will go just for that fact. But interesting that only 49 out of 100 available tables were obviously booked in. Obviously forced them to put this post out there and put this information out there. Number 4, number of shows. Okay, so due to the success of card shows across the UK, many others have popped up. Some of these are run every 3 months. This is not a dig and just an observation. We've been to many of them. We imagine over the last 2 to 3 years, the novelty has worn off slightly for a lot of people. Interesting. One of the USPs is the fact that we're just a sports cards only show. However, there's also restrictions, the type of person who comes to our show, and in turn affects our revenue streams. We've all heard there's too much Pokemon about shows. That is why our show was created in the first place. The reality is Pokemon brings the crowds, the tables, and the revenue in order to pay for shows. So we sort of touched on this briefly before, the whole divide, and like I said before in previous pods, the Pokemon TCG market far outweighs that of just sports cards, especially in the UK when it's quite sort of soccer card dominated. You can go to, again, I'll go back to London, we've been the biggest. You can go to London Card Show. Yes, try and divide it 50-50, 50% Pokemon TCG, 50% sports. And out of that 50% sports, it's going to be 80% soccer, with the other 20% spread around, NFL, NBA, maybe get a table or two, like baseball, ice hockey, sort of random esports stuff. tennis F1 sort of stuff. It's just sort of a bit of a wishy-washy mix. So yeah, this probably is, again, we said it before, I always like them being together. I think that's why London has been so successful, has done so over the years. And people said, like I said, people have mentioned, oh, there's too much Pokemon. They tried limiting that to 50%. But like you said, it is what brings in the people, it is the collectors. And again, look over a crossover effect, especially the young kids. They're going to come for Pokemon, but in 5-10 years' time, all these soccer cards are going to see and more get into football and other sports. It helps them grow into that hobby as well. And again, they might cross over there and then they might see some cards and play FIFA still. Just like Pokemon, they didn't know about soccer cards because it's not as big at their school, for instance. Yeah, that's interesting. Interesting, obviously, talking about other cards and ruin it. And I know that at one point it was like a card show host sort of WhatsApp group where they sort of try to organize the calendars to shows, whatever. I don't know how that worked out, but yeah, interesting that that is one of the issues. Number 5, market forces / number of products. And this is obviously a very interesting talking point at the moment in the hobby about the amount of products and also the quality of the products. So yeah, this is interesting. Over the last 18 months, we've seen a real increase in the number of products being pumped out by Topps and the prices of cards on a downward trajectory. It's tough for me to say, don't lie. I'm not gonna lie. We decided to shut down our retail account with Topps UK. This was another revenue stream for the company which supported the running of the show. However, I could see that there is just too much product being pumped out currently. We've seen a lot of people leaving the hobby. Now, obviously, I alluded to this on a previous podcast. I think on a live the other day. I think I mentioned it to my good friend, Sports Cards UK Dan. I do seem to see a lot more people sort of messaging, trying to cash out the hobby or saying they're leaving, or random message after a few months. I'm not really on this account. I'm not really in a hobby as much anymore. Hope you well, sort of thing. More than I do see sort of the same people in this industry. It's a lot more people leaving at the moment, which is unfortunate. And sometimes you can sort of get into a weird pattern of being influenced of going on social media, seeing those breakers telling you about how great products are. You can hit this card for this amount, and so you can believe the hype and you get involved in these breaks, and all of a sudden you're struggling into 1 month, so you think, oh, do you know what? I'll just get involved in more breaks. You never know, I could hit this £30,000 card that I'm getting told I can get. You put it on Klarna, and now the payments just getting more and more and more. And yeah, you end up with a ton of base at your house, and you try to sell them, and you're getting pennies back for your pounds, and it's just not a good look. So people leave. The product's obviously been an issue. I know a few people. Jamie Salt, I can't remember his name on Instagram. Is it Jamie Collector? Let me just double check. I know he's been very vocal about Topps and their quality of cards recently. Let me just double check his name. I don't want to get that wrong. So it's Jamie UK Collector, if you're not following. So he's been very sort of vocal on his point of how the new era of cards, the quality of them, and they're just trying to take your cash. At most businesses, right? Hasn't been up there compared to sort of the older stuff. Again, it's been across a lot of sports as well. Now we're seeing it. I know soccer's going to get a dynasty, which we never had before. They're going to pump out more products. Obviously, with the new licenses for the NFL, they're doing a lot of unlicensed stuff, just trying to get the products out. So it's just one of those. I suppose it's increase of demand as well. We're getting a lot more people into the hobby. They're doing a lot more stuff. You've seen them, especially on their social, a lot more events. I think over the weekend they're at the F1, the UFC, and each time they got the products there. So they're trying to do more. But I do get it. It's interesting that they've cancelled their account, especially if they did say it was another revenue stream. Maybe it's something they could have looked into to keep the account, keep that revenue stream going in just alternate ways, whether that's get a breaker in, have someone breaking for them and getting free product that way and making money, or like everyone else now at the moment, everyone else is getting a store, open a little shop up somewhere, little van, little pop-up van one. You've got the ice cream van. How about you get a sports cards van going around, have a little music tune playing. I'm not going to do a tune. I'm not going to deafen you with that. So that's the end point on number 5. It's the last one, and then it's a little sign off. So how can you help? We're asking for your support. We have the next 7 days to save the show, so it'll be next Sunday, I believe that'll finish. If you've been putting things off, delaying, then now is the time to purchase a vendor table for the show. If this appeal doesn't work, it doesn't work. But we're hoping the community can come out and support the show. And that is a big part of every show, you know, the community has to be there for it. We're not ashamed of closing things down and cancelling. You try things in business, sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. It is what it is. However, we really hope we can come together so that moving forward, we can continue putting on a show every 6 months. For us, it's never been a money-making enterprise, as you can see. It's great to meet up with all the regulars, trade cards, and rip. The evening entertainment is always awesome. It will be a shame if it cannot continue. If you want tables at the show, please do the following. Get in touch and let us know what you want to reserve a table. We will put your name down on the list until the end of next week. We will look at the final numbers in 7 days' time. If you get the required numbers, payment will be required at the end of the 7 days. So I heard it's a bit of a question, like you have to pay money, you know, get a table, and all of a sudden it doesn't go through, and you have to wait to get money back. And then you're just sort of putting your interest, registering your interest, and then if they hit the required numbers and say, right, the show's going ahead, then you pay your money. A shout out to Mark. Obviously, met Mark at a fair few shows. And it must be sort of difficult, you know, to sort of ask and let people know your ins and outs your business and ask for sort of help to continue. But I think it shows he obviously cares, not only about the hobby, but also about running the show and the event in general. I actually had the table at the first show, me and Dan, and then Train Strikes again stopped me going to this one. So I think Dan had a table to himself, lucky guy. And then the second one, I think I was away for the second one. I can't remember. I don't even know when the date was, so I'm not going to start saying I was here, there, everywhere. But yeah, I don't know what happened to the second one. But no, it's, you know, if you're going to be interested. So if you're interested, please head over to the Sports Card Social on Instagram to send them a DM. They did have a website. So yeah, which was www.thesportscardsocial. I think it was .co.uk. But yeah, definitely over to their Instagram at thesportscard.social. Register interest, get tickets, show out, support. 7 days to go out and support the show. If you want to go to it, again, and if you want to support the show, and if you want to see more, these things happen, because, this could be the first domino. This is what you got to think about. If this one show is in this situation, what's to say that there's not 3, 4, 5, 6 other shows in the same scenario? I think the other big market also to sort of think about now is if you guys really, all you guys that were saying, we want Sports Cards Only show. If you want them so bad, you've got to show up for them. You've got to support them. You've got to show up for them. So if you still want this Sports Card Only show, and like they said, there's, Pokemon crowd and tables where the money's at. If you still want it to be divided like this, then you have to show out for the sports card shows. Yeah, I think what's going to be interesting, I think, I'd love to get Mark Martin, of the Southampton Card Show, who's also a Sports Card Only show. I think it's going to be one in Brighton as well, which I don't know if sports or just soccer only or something like that, soccer stickers. It's going to be good to get them on and actually hear sort of more the ins and outs and the trials and tribulations of running just a Sports Card Only show. Again, especially because we're seeing so many shows around the country. It's interesting that they alluded to that as a novelty worn off. I think also maybe the novelty's worn off a little bit of shows. I think also you got to think about money as well. A lot of people coming out of sort of having a lot of money with COVID, and obviously London Card Show was sort of going during them Omicron COVID times. So people sort of get money, and then this last year especially has been, I won't say in a deep economic crisis, which has been tough times in the economy. Remortgaging, a lot of people remortgaged last year at a crazier rate, and having to pay £300-400 a month more than have been having to pay. Again, that's still going on to this day. It's still a lot higher than it would have been when they bought in 5 X amount of years ago. So that's another thing to factor. And again, the losses that people have got, a lot of people got into the hobby, when people were telling them to, which is the time you should be getting out of the hobby, really. If people telling you to start buying sports cards, that's when you should start selling sports cards. Because when Gary Vee is telling his million followers start buying sports cards, you can have an influx of people buying sports cards. So get out of them. So a lot of people bought it at a high because everyone was coming in, and now they're trying to sell at a bit of a low. Like they said themselves, there's a downward trajectory in card prices, and it's just a market. I still think the market's healthier than it was 5 years ago, because even though people are leaving, there's still a lot the influx we've had over these last 3-4 years, especially around Europe, especially around Europe, has been sort of tenfold. And I think we've probably only lost 50% of them. It's just we're seeing a lot more people leave now than we've seen come into the hobby. I think that's the next big one. Can we sustain that part of it where we don't start losing too many people and not getting new people into hobby? But very interesting, very sad news as well. It's never nice to hear that shows in the UK are struggling or are shutting down. Obviously, we had it with Nottinghamshire, did a one and done. Brighton did 3, I think, and done. Or did the third one not go through? I can't remember that one. But yeah, now potentially Sports Card Social not going through. I think they've talked. Was it Manchester Card Con? Rainey's talked about ending it this year. At certain points. So very interesting. Let me know your thoughts. Or actually, do you think you could save the Sports Card Social by would you take the hit of what £1,950 for since the last show? They're doing shows every 6 months. It's not horrendous. Maybe that's something you could look into, taking over the Sports Card Social. I don't know. I can't. I'm not a broker for the business, but maybe that's something if you really wanted to save the show. But yeah, I think some interesting points. Obviously, the sponsors pulling out is very interesting, and obviously not knowing the full ins and outs, it does leave a lot to wonder to imagination. Is it down to personal relationships, or is this down to what Tops, whatnot, Futera, eBay are planning for the next year or so? They're going to be less in shows for next year, or are they just going to back one or two? Are they going to do their own shows? Yeah, what have they got planned? Why are they pulling out shows? And is it just this one show they pulled out of? Are they going to pull out of other shows? It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting. I think that was one of the biggest surprises to see. Sort of, like I said, the big companies pulling out and not supporting shows. And Milton Keynes, Tops it's very strange. Maybe it's again because they've cancelled the Tops UK account. Maybe that's something to do with it, a bit of personal stuff. Maybe they did it afterwards. I don't know. We don't know all the facts, but yeah, very interesting about that. And again, I think the other one was obviously the tables being sold. 49 tables sold. And obviously it was announced a while ago. It wasn't just like announced 2 days ago. But again, I do think that would just be a case of people like to book. If it's in September, people start booking August. Because one, obviously school holidays, you want to have as much money possible for these holidays. People go away during summer with their families, etc. And then they go away. So they'll come back and it's like, right, kids back at school. We've got some money. I've got to go to a show. I'll book a table or two. I'll book a night down at the hotel, do the trade event, come back Sunday. So yeah, interesting. Very interesting. Very sad news. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think Sports Card Social could do anything different? Do you think you could? Do you think it's a show that needs to be in the calendar? Are you not fussed either way, or are you upset by this? Very, very, very interesting news. Again, quite sad news. Kind of depressing podcast. I know. I think it's because of the weekend. Obviously, my good friend Pat Brown being eliminated in the Olympics boxing. But yeah, on other news, on a bit brighter news, obviously the Formula 1 was a crazy one. If people watched that, the Belgian Grand Prix, was it George Russell doing 33 laps on tires? He pitted lap 11 or something crazy and just went long on the one-stop strategy and held off Lewis really well. I think Lewis possibly messed up on a lap or two to stop him taking over. Piastri was catching at pace, by the way, as well in third. And I think same with, I think it was Brundle saying that Mercedes probably should have said swap over, give Russell a DRS, close to the next 4 or 5 laps. They didn't, to race it out. Lewis just couldn't get the positioning right because when he was close enough, George positioned his car pretty well. Downside to this valiant effort was obviously the drain on the medium tyres and obviously the fuel they were burning. And his car underweighed and he was disqualified, which obviously gives Lewis the win. So it would have been interesting if saving the tyres for them 5-6 laps, saving fuel, using DRS boost from Lewis and just taking a nice 1-2 from Mercedes that way. What difference that would have made if because I think it was 1.5 kg under. Yeah, or maybe they just didn't prepare well for that one-stop strategy, putting enough fuel in, etc. First time around. Maybe they weren't planning for a one-stop, so they just didn't give enough. But yeah, it's kind of a shame because you like to, we saw it last week, didn't we, with Lando and Piastri. You always want to see guys out front just going as hard as they can and winning. And obviously McLaren made a decision last week to hey, listen, we made a game plan. It was a bit of a slight undercut. It didn't really work out too well. Give Piastri the spot back, and he gave Piastri his first win. But I'll say not myself, but Lando fans are obviously very upset because he raced just as hard. He got to the front. He did his part, and he went into the undercut, sacrificed himself a little bit for the team, and it sort of works in his favor to actually take the lead. So you should allow him. He's obviously closest to Max Verstappen in the championships, so you should have allowed him. And maybe Piastri should have said, "Listen, he needs the points. I've got second spot here. It's fine. My win will come." But as a competitor, you're gonna want every W, aren't you? And especially if you have a team plan about it. But very interesting. And obviously this week they potentially sacrificed a 1-2 and let them race. But I think it was good to see George race that well. I won't say I'm George's biggest fan. He's a very good driver. I don't collect him, etc. I'm not overly fussy if he wins. But I think he did race well. He put it in, especially towards the end when it matters. When you've got one of the greatest to ever do it on your back like that, knowing that Piastri was catching at pace as well. I think Piastri was knocking off something like 3 or 4 tenths a lap. It was crazy. He was pushing hard. Yeah. The other plus news, obviously, is Lando and Max were in close contention again. They were fourth and fifth because of George falling out. So that was an interesting fight. Max managed to hold them off for a good 10 laps. It's going to get spicy now. I think if it had been like this from the get-go, the season would be, if everyone would be glued to the TV sets every weekend. But I think Max having a start he had, and that sort of buffer he's got in points now. I think he's still got like a 60-plus point lead, maybe more. Because Lando got fastest lap, so maybe he's got like a 60-70 point lead over Lando. So we're a little bit over halfway now in the season, so it's going to be an interesting end to the season. Anything still happen. Lewis getting 2 wins for the year, man, it's good to see. But yeah, because now all eyes will be on these next few weeks and months of obviously preseason in soccer, the old football, and American football is getting intensified now, and they're starting their friendly games soon with the season kicking off in a few weeks. NBA is obviously going to be Olympics, so all eyes will be on Team USA, I reckon, and LeBron, Steph, KD, Edwards. I mean, Tatum is what a team! What a team! So yeah, maybe a lot of pressure there, but thanks for listening. Short, sweet, because it's a somber one. Short, sweet podcast for you guys. But I appreciate you guys for watching, listening, etc., etc. Again, if you want to go and support the Sports Card Social, head over, get tickets, tables. It could be the last one. It may not be. It may not even happen at all. So, if you want these shows to happen, you have to support them. And yeah, that's all I can say. Head over to sportscard.social. Aye. What a sad day in hobby, eh? What a sad day in hobby. Hopefully not. Hopefully it does go through, eh? Again, hopefully I can try and get. I know Martin, who does the Southampton card show, who does just come up from the national, so hopefully I can try and get him soon. And hopefully it's not more bad news. Hopefully he'll be like, no, we're doing okay. We this, that, the other. So we'll see. We shall see. But again, thanks for listening. Appreciate you all. Have a good week, and I will catch you next week. And I'll see there'll be on the lookout this week as well. Might even show some PC. Someone messaging me, well, a few messages about what my PC is and cards are. So I do have my cards down there somewhere. I might do a little vid on some of my home collection of cards. We'll see. And some other ones. I've got some random cards I've collected for some reason. But yeah, I might go through some of them in a few vids. But no, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the little notification bell. It helps immensely. Comment, like, all the good stuff. I appreciate it as always. But now, take care. Have a good week. Let's get it.